So if you are overweight, you can train your abs all day. They are not going to be visible.
Yeah, buddy. Lightweight, baby.
What's up, guys? I'm Josh and I lift things, and I'm here to talk about ab training. What's the best way to do it? Do you need to do it? And everything else. So first things first, as per usual, I think we need a little bit of basic anatomy. Your abs are actually just one muscle known as the rectus abdominis. They are that delicious 6-pack, 8-pack muscle that sits on top of everything else. Beneath that, you have your transverse abdominis, and then you also have your internal and external obliques. Now, I'm not going to be touching on them very much here. I'm also not going to be talking about your core as a whole, because the actual function of your core is very, very complicated and requires its own video. This is purely about 6-pack abs, of which the biggest thing to mention is if you are overweight, they are not going to be seen. For men, if you are over 12%, you're not going to have good abs. Most start showing the top ones at about 15%. For women, that number is closer to about the 20% mark. So if you are overweight, you can train your abs all day. They are not going to be visible. Everyone has abs. Everyone has a 6-pack. They are just covered by fat. That's another thing to talk about. When I say everyone has a 6-pack, that's a bit of a misnomer. Some people have 8. Some people have 10. This is all to do with your genetics and how many actual creases you have between the tissue. Now, some people have very symmetrical abs. Other people have, or what are known as, zipper abs. I am one of these people. They stagger, kind of like that. And then some people have even weirder ab genetics, such as Ronnie Coleman, who has a literal fist-sized hole in the middle of his abs. Now, training your abs is like training any other muscle group. For some reason, people think that you have to take them to failure with bodyweight movements, and that's the only way to train them. That just isn't the case. They experience hypertrophy the same way any other muscle group does. The only issue is that they are primarily slow twitch, kind of similar to your forearms and your calves and your neck. This means that they may experience a little bit better hypertrophy when you use a higher frequency and if you use a higher rep range. Now, for some people, this isn't the case whatsoever. The actual distribution of type of muscle fiber is insanely genetic. And if you respond better to higher frequency or lower frequency or higher volume or lower volume is also nearly entirely genetic. So the most accurate prescription I can give you for training your abs is the same as any other muscle group. Probably 1 to 3 times a week. Probably 10 to 20 hard-ish sets a week using movements that offer a complete range of motion with a big stretch and a forceful contraction. My personal 2 favorites for this are hanging leg raises and cable crunches. Now, this brings us to the next point of, do you even need to train your abs? I do not do any direct ab work, and I can show you what my abs look like through multiple different body fat ranges. So these 2 pictures here are me when I was very, very underweight, 6'2" at about 140, 150 pounds, thanks to Crohn's disease. As you can see, even after lifting for quite some time, a lot of muscle mass was drained off of me thanks to glucocorticosteroids, shout out prednisone. But at this very low body fat percentage, you know, I have more than just abs. I have fucking rib cage ripples. You know, you can see my serratus popping out a little bit. You can see an ab vein down there, so you know I'm at very low percent body fat. I also have the Adonis belt here. You know, cum gutters, dick root, whatever people want to call them. This is your external obliques. Now, you can see with me specifically, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a big 5 and a big 6. That is purely genetics. Some people, I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you could try to count that as a pack. To me, that's mostly rib. But if you wanted to, you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I do not have, you know, a lot of lower ab definition. That's just the way that my abs are built. That is my genetics. Here you can see when I start putting on a little bit more weight, still tons of crazy riblets going on there. But here it's a much more noticeable 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just a bigger lower section. This was me at the end of putting on weight. Of being unhealthy and putting on weight, and then going into my bulk. And here you can see still not training abs, just, you know, a pretty good, pretty solid zipper 4-pack, and then even less so here. Here is me a little bit after this. This is a pretty bad blurry photo, but you can see the lines are starting to go away. But just because of my genetics, I still have ribs sticking out. And you can also see here that I still have the Adonis lines, and I have a pretty straight boxy waist. This is just how I am. I have pretty trained and hard and strong obliques, probably from years of doing some minor powerlifting and playing sports and everything. I do not have a super great V-taper. I have really, really wide shoulders, which helps give me the illusion of it. But when I'm just standing here naturally relaxed without flexing my lats or anything, pretty up and down until you get closer to my upper lats. Here you see me going a little bit further into the bulk, and you can still see my ribs sticking out. You can kind of see an Adonis line if my underwear is a little bit lower, but you can see I'm much more losing the definition and getting a bit puffier. And then here's me not too long ago. This is my biggest bulk photo that I have, and you can see that the abs are almost completely gone. The lighting is not doing me any favors, and I'm not flexing my abs here, but holy fuck, look at those mountain traps. So this is what not training abs looks like. And for reference here, I am 6'2", like I said, like 140, 150, probably 160-ish maybe. This is 180, 185. This is about 195, this is about 205, and then this is coming up on 225. Now, even Alex Eubanks has said before that he does not train his abs. I'm sure at some point he did. A lot of people need at least some hypertrophy there, especially if you're first starting in the gym and you are severely undertrained. But for the most part, doing hard compound movements like squats and deadlifts, especially where you have to brace pretty hard, will do a lot for your abs if you are significantly undertrained. And again, if you are fat, you will not see them regardless of how much you train them. So here we can see for the rectus abdominis, this is your six-pack muscle. And then behind it there is the transverse abdominis, which is going to be much more involved in bracing and breathing. So it's the top layer of your abdominal muscles, commonly referred to as your six-pack. It is two flat and parallel muscles separated by linea alba, a connective tissue. It acts to flex the spinal column, tense the anterior wall of the abdomen, and assist in compressing the contents of the abdomen. So when you brace and try to tense up, or if you're doing a vacuum, your rectus abdominis will be severely active, as well as primarily your transverse abdominis, and then also to flex the spinal column. The rectus sheath is multi-layered, being a durable, resilient, fibrous compartment that contains both the rectus abdominis muscle and the pyramidalis muscle. So it originates from the pubic crest between the pubic tubercle and pubic symphysis. At the lower end, the muscle inserts with the help of fibers to the 5th and 7th costal cartilage and the xiphoid process of the sternum. The muscle is interrupted, but not all the way through, by 3 or more fibrous bands called the tendinous intersections. The most superior intersection is generally at the level of the xiphoid, the lower intersection is at the level of the umbilicus, and the middle one is at the midway between them. So for function here, we have flexion of the trunk, flexion of thoracic and lumbar spine, while it works by drawing pubic symphysis and sternum toward each other. So think about a crunch that tenses the anterior wall of the abdomen and assists in compressing contents of the abdomen. So think about bracing. It works on posterior pelvic tilt with other abdominal muscles. So let's think about basic posture. And then it also plays a role in core stability, along with the musculature of the lower back, the internal and external obliques, and the transverse abdominis. So in knowing that, you know that in order to train it, you should either be doing some form of compression and then some form of spinal flexion. That is all you need, as well as the caveat of you can't be fat. So do you want to train it? It's up to you. Are you severely undertrained and you think that they need to experience hypertrophy? If that's the case, then try to give it some more direct stimulation other than just what you get from compression during a compound movement. And before you ask, no, a belt does not remove any of the intra-abdominal pressure created by your midsection's muscularity. If you don't want to train them, don't. Some people, especially like female physique competitors, actually try to detrain stuff like their obliques and TVA in order to actually get a better shape. If you're a man and you want to try that, feel free, but you're basically going to be taking out every single movement that would require you to actually brace your core, which is like all of the fun ones. And you're probably going to have to lower weight on all of your movements and try not to engage them at all. Try to do like a one-arm lat pull down without engaging your core. Good luck. The entire point of your core is to actually create that stabilization. So guys, those are the secrets to abs. Don't be fat and maybe train them if you want to. I don't, and if you want a more impressive physique that also doesn't, look to Alex Eubanks. If you're severely undertrained or a complete beginner in the gym, it's probably worth trying to do some training in order to build it up and get some mind-muscle connection. Once you get to a certain point, it's probably not necessary. Just don't be fat. To recap a little bit more, to not be considered fat in these terms for a man is to be at least under 15%, more than likely closer to 12 or 10% to have a good six-pack. And for women, that's going to be closer to about 20% body fat. Though I do not recommend a lot of women get down to that level unless you are just interested in it or competing. The hormonal issues that a lot of women suffer from when they get to that low of a body fat percentage are pretty intense. So do with that what you will. And guys, that is the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this style of content, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that stuff. If you really like this content, you really want to support me, you can follow all of these socials. You can find the links to them down in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.